Hello, everyone. It's Tabatha Fro Braid Girl.
I was waiting on AKA Braid Girl. Hey y'all, it's Britt Britt, Lock Girl today. No scarf.
Look, don't have the wrap on. I see you in the flow.
Natural today, boo.
Mhm. We are going to stay with the same scripture, Proverbs 22 and 6. So go, it'll scroll across the screen. You can read it. And now we're going to go ahead and jump into it because we have someone and we don't want to waste our time. We want to bring her in as fast as possible because we just want to hear everything she got to say.
Shoot, sorry. I was saying I'm so excited about her today. I done muted myself because I'm ready for her to come on in. So today's guest, so we're continuing our parenting 101 or parenthood series from last week, right? And so this week we're continuing on and we're wanting to dial the wheel back a little bit and go back to the beginning, even before the conception of the child. Is there a such thing as parenting or thinking about the child even before you bring them here, you and your partner? So today we're going to dial it back a little bit and talk about, walking into parenthood and how we can create our own walk in it, because as we know, there's no guide, there's no 100% rules to follow, and you really do have to make it your own for it to be fulfilling. So without further ado, today we have authenticity coach Freda Durden. She is the owner of 813 Wellbeing, and she'll be joining us to talk about parenting. She's a parent, Miss Tab's a parent, I'm a parent to be. So we're going to get back in the flow of the conversation, so let's bring her on in. Good morning, beautiful.
Good
How you
How are
doing?
you
morning.
ladies?
Doing well on a Sunday. I'm feeling
Doing
calm and
well.
chill. So, Miss Free, if you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself, I did say we had an authenticity coach coming on today, but you have the floor to introduce yourself, what it is you do, and what you bring to this world, baby.
Okay, so I like to introduce myself with a little bit of a story. It'll
Mm-hmm.
be brief. So I started my journey somewhere in my mid 20s,
Mm-hmm.
just looking for healing for myself from relationships and just wanting to connect with myself better. And I started with Reiki. So I took Reiki until I became a Karuna Reiki certified master. And after I began to pursue Reiki and shamanic studies and a couple of other energy therapy healing modalities, I didn't like that it felt fragmented. Like you could help people to heal for certain periods of time, but then they would still have to work through other things that were occurring. So I wanted to create a modality that would help people to really step into their soul self and be able to create and continue to move forward and to regenerate themselves as many times as they needed to. So then I
Mm-hmm.
moved into coaching. So now I am an authenticity coach and I use tarot card readings, soul realignments, mediumship, akashic record clearing, all types of healing modalities that I have learned in different places and from different amazing mentors and people. Recently, my most favorite part about my business is watching people's brilliance light up their life in their eyes and watching them really move into a focused position to achieve their goals and to create relationships that are amazing and abundant and beautiful. So that's what I do.
Yes. Have to do my dance. That's my praise dance.
But y'all cute. Your silent celebration is like the best part of this call
It's just
because she
taking
was
it in.
clapping and you do a little dance.
All that is amazing. And I think it very much connects to not only are you finding your authentic self and seating yourself in that, but that role gets to play out in all the parts of your life. So, parenting is what we've been talking about. You can even create, I feel, your own walk into parenting. You know what I'm saying? I know you won't know what's going to happen 100%, but at least the mindset before you go in. So, first question is, what do you think about you both the idea of parenthood kind of starting even before a baby gets here or even before a baby is conceived, preparing your body, preparing your mind, and all that kind of stuff. I think we don't consider how that starts before the children come. So I'll give y'all the floor.
Think about preparing your body in terms of what you're going to put in it, prenatal vitamins, what you're going to eat, all of these things. But less thought is given to how you're preparing your mind when you are carrying the baby. So now folks are focusing on reading because they have heard that if you read to a child while it is in the womb, there is a more
Mm.
successful opportunity for them to move forward in life. But what are you speaking to your child? And I thought about being a teen mom and having my daughter at a young age, just how frantic I was and scared I was. Because I'm number one, hiding the pregnancy.
Mm.
Number two, I'm getting bigger and bigger. So just those emotions just fried all into that body before she even came out. And I
Mm-hmm.
wondered so much why she was crying for like the first 6 months nonstop. Because I put her in that state.
Like, it's something happening. Help
But
me.
yeah.
Happy parents is the best way to prepare. I think happiness, it may be a bit cliche, but I think that it's very important to have a certain level of sovereignty and joy as you begin to give birth and moving into growing the child. Because when children are infants, patience is key. You know, a schedule, and you got to feed them, change them. It's not really hard, although I have heard some people say that the beginning of life is the hard part. But when they begin to individuate in their personality and growing into who they are, for instance, I have had the intention to do something good for my son. It wasn't received that way, or teach him something new. And he's like, Mom, why we got to go to the museum? Why we got to go for this walk to look at the flowers? And I'm trying to teach him something about nature or patience or meditation or something like that. And he's not with it. So I think really, in order to really understand and put yourself in a space when you're getting ready to have a child, even if you're just planning, I think figuring out what you want your life to be that includes your joy, like, and do it in like 5 year increments. Like, you want to
Yeah.
plan it out, because as soon as you miss, especially even more so as an entrepreneur or an ambitious person, as soon as you miss a couple of those goals, you're looking at baby like, you came here to mess up my life. So you really want to be solid on your joy, what makes you happy, and what you want to create. When you focus completely on them, I do think they get a bit annoyed with you.
Mm.
They take you for granted a little more. You know, you could be a really, really good parent and not have a deep relationship with your children. And I think relationship is a really big deal. I try to make sure that I keep the relationship together.
Got you. So with you, if you don't mind me saying, you recently had a baby, a new one, new bundle of toys. Yeah. How was your, journey with choosing, even though we know what happened?
I I really, this was an awakened choice for me,
Mhm.
because being into spiritual arts can make you sort of be a rebel, you
Mhm.
know. And I've chosen to be practical. Like, I like to bridge both sides. I don't necessarily I'm not gonna make too much jokes about it, but I don't
Mhm.
necessarily go extreme left or extreme right. So
Okay.
for us, like, talking to dad about giving birth to baby and how we wanted to give birth to baby, I think he was like, he was like, hospital, like what they do, and then I was like, no, babe, I want something else. He's like, yeah, but real close to a hospital,
Mhm. Up the
So
street.
there was a lot of there's that word again, like really feeling into sovereignty and what I wanted as an individual. And
Mhm.
also, which was new for me, not like putting my foot down and pressing my way, you
Yeah.
know. The moment that we had was so vulnerable,
Mhm.
and we really hadn't made a choice. We knew we did not want to go into a facility at a time in which I did not have control over my birthing process. So we decided we wouldn't go to the hospital during early contractions, because at that point, if you become uncomfortable, or there's so many different things that you might need an epidural or other drugs, and I didn't want to go. If I needed to go to the hospital, we agreed that I would go once I was in full labor. I think it's like stage 3 labor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got that far. But then I had a very, very good close friend that had given birth at home, and she was practicing her doula medicine, and she was like, I think you can do this. I think that you could go ahead and, if you want to. And I wasn't sure. I don't think until maybe the last hour or two, I think I was still telling them the hospital is up the street. And I might, hey,
Wrap this up.
call them. I like, my body can do anything that I want it to do if I am focused and in my body. Because every time I ignored, Jay was solid. Like my fiance, oh my God, he was so solid. Where I was, he was, but he wasn't nervous. He wasn't asking me questions. It almost like it was just the call of the day, right?
Yeah.
But
And right
I heard
there,
my sister. I
I'm
heard my
sorry to
sister on the
pause you.
phone, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
she's like, breathe. And when I try to breathe with her rhythm, I'm not connected. And the the
Like,
doula
ma'am.
lady is like, you got it. You almost there. Well, maybe it's okay if he doesn't come until later. And I'm like, later?
Mm-hmm.
No, this isn't working. But when I checked in with myself and Bo in my body, I was like, okay. And he was telling me, like, I'm on my way, Ma. I'll be here in an hour. So it was
Mm-hmm.
like breathing through and checking in with myself. And then next thing you know, here he was. It wasn't a poop, but it was it was close enough. Like I think 30s have given me such a different appreciation for women and parenting and the vagina in general.
Mm-hmm.
God bless us all.
Yeah.
Giving birth to Bo at home, I don't know if I would do it again. And I have a lot of respect for women that give birth via cesarean and home birth and with a doula in the water, outside the water, in the car on the way to the hospital. Because to choose to bring a child here, knowing that it's going to cause you pain, I really appreciate birth differently.
I love free everything that you said. And let me know if you want to chime in right here. But right there, like even if we plan how we might want baby to come, we just never know how they gonna slide on out of here. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like the important thing, what I heard you saying, is the people you had around you. Dad was around you, he was calm. Your doula friend came by, she was talking you through. I think you had to hang up on your sister at a point, like, all right, like we got to be in this space right now because this moment right here, dog, it's just like that's important to me. You know what I'm saying? Like having the right people around. So I won't go on and on about it. But did you have something else you want to say right there?
Just in case my sister
I
watches,
wanted
I
to
love her.
say,
Cause
We love
oh,
you
go ahead,
too.
Miss Tab.
I wanted to say that I think, with the exception of Christy, the other two births, Kobe and Man, I was relaxed all the way up until the end. I started noticing that when it was time to give birth, I would just get myself in a panic because I think it was
Mm-hmm.
because I knew what that pain was going to be like. And
Mm-hmm.
all the first two were natural. And Kobe, even though I wanted to be natural, I was like, whatever I say, don't give me the epidural. Do not, do you hear what I'm saying? Yes, I hear
Mm-hmm.
you. But when that pain started coming hard and heavy, that last one, I was like, get me
Call
the
somebody.
epidural.
Now, put it in my
I
face.
need it right now.
Bo got ready to come. I told him I was gonna walk to the hospital. I was a little delusional. Like those last couple pushes,
Oh my God.
they were laughing at me because I was like, "I'm going now," and they were like,
Mm.
"Girl, get back in this water and have him. He coming."
Ma'am, he has this a head hanging out of him. Please calm down.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think
But
he had Junior via cesarean.
mm-hmm.
I remember contractions, but they were a lot more. I think at the hospital and also being told to lay on your back. Not that a hospital is a bad place. It's a good
Mm-hmm.
place if you're informed.
Sure.
You know what your body needs, you know what you want, and you can be the head of the healthcare team. So it's not
Yes.
a bad place at all, right?
Don't let people pressure you into how you want to bring your baby here or how you're planning to bring your baby here, because I don't have to be shamed about if you want to do it at home, if you want to do a water birth at the hospital, wherever, but having those right people around you and, professionals, of course, medical professionals and all that stuff. But I love that people can create how they want to actually bring baby here. Sometimes we can be on two different pages, as far as how we want to parent or, bringing in our own culture from how we were raised. How do you find a common ground there to say, we're going to team parent this thing out as much as we can? Or is that a thing?
I think communication is an important part. For us, it was almost like, all right, we're choosing to have this baby at this time in life because the rest of our kids, we got like a little bit of time and everybody would be leaving the nest, deciding how we would make sure all of the boys, because we have 4, all of the boys would have what they need. All of the boys would get the best of us. That we had there before is like gender roles. Because when you parenting several children, them gender roles go right out the window. Like everybody do hair, everybody cook, everybody clean. I think it was really obvious to us that we needed to be more, in an idea of what community would be. An ongoing conversation about how we will parent. Because again, parent, you always got to be flexible and on a pivot. And you and your mate have to have a foundational understanding of commitment and what you guys have come here for. You don't know what these little people are going to bring into you. Don't know what they want. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know what is coming into their spirit to figure out and to be surprised at things that are these kids' world. And then you have to be the person to be like a sounding board to some stuff you might feel like is ignorant or interesting or scary. Sometimes it's scary. You don't know what to say.
A funny story. We won't go over it again. But
I think we really like tried to. We had the best part, I think, between me and him since we've had another child and we have our children has been like the pillow talk is off the chain. And we're off to like, do you know that the child told me?
Did you want to chime in?
I took a couple of things from that. I was thinking about parenting in and the communication between the two parents and making sure you're on the same page. I was voted bad cop, not by me, but by my ex-husband. So I was bad. I was always disciplinarian, which didn't bother me, not one bit, because I don't have a problem with saying, hey, stop that. You need to do this. Don't do that. But it did not stop them from coming to talk to me. As we said before, you will not have 100% conversation. They're not going to tell you everything as they're growing up. And even as they get a little bit older, there are segments of their life that they will show you. But as a parent, you just want to be able to make yourself available when conversation does arise. And you're right. The talk about what is happening with them, and it takes you learning who Lil Uzi Vert is and all kinds of stuff I don't even care about, but you gotta listen.
You do. And
Because you listen to the smallest thing, they'll bring the biggest thing to you.
Yes. And I feel like, that builds that trust with them because, I have a couple little guy babies and they're teenagers now, most of them. And it's like being on a level with them. What movies are they watching? What kind of friends are they making at school? How they look at friendship, how they look at the world. But I also appreciate the innocence still. I feel like even as some of them come into those late, 9, 10, 11 preteen stages, they're still innocent in a way because that's like the core space of when they really figuring themselves out, comparing themselves to others. So those conversations have been unique and funny. I really enjoyed them. And I'll just say, as a person who has yet to have children, being around children and having that in my village has, it's molding me, it's getting me ready. So I can be appreciative of that. So we talked about the other day briefly that space between giving birth and allowing the soul of the baby to seep into itself.
So
Mm-hmm.
up until the time at which your child's eyes begin to focus, right, takes a while, right? 4 to 6 weeks. This is a time in which you can look at the child and sort of feel into the fact that the soul is still anchoring itself in the body, right? So the baby is still getting autonomy and is still entering into understanding that, I mean, its own personhood. Like some people will say that the baby still finds itself as a part of the mother.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no autonomy, there is no sovereignty, there is no difference between mommy womb, we the same person, milk me, and I have arms, I have fingers, that sort of space. So in that space, there are several different things when it comes to a soul seat, right? So you can have situations at which a soul enters in and out of a child, um, or a child's soul begins to reflect the images of other people. For instance, when we were having Bo, we were mindful not to allow everybody to come visit,
Mm-hmm.
or go over everyone's house, or
Mm-hmm.
very mindful to be mindful of the energies that were around the house, or not project certain things onto him. Like, if he is hungry, he will let you know. If he
Mm-hmm.
needs to be changed, he has a special noise for those sort of
Mm-hmm.
things. Being able to allow a child to direct you in their becoming is a really important part of it. Things like hospitals. People are born and they die in hospitals, right? So there are spirits and souls that may definitely be in the hospital, right? You may have family members that have recently left the earth, and these sort of souls have the ability to take seat in a child's, because children's souls have not yet anchored themselves. I mean, I won't say that it happens often, but often enough for you to know that it's possible. You know, you call these things light power imager, where there's a person that is their soul never completely took seat, a little bit to a certain percent. And they are always reflecting other people's gifts or reflecting other people's feelings. And they are not completely sovereign in their own. I am always mindful, like even things like invisible friends, the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that children have. It's a no for me, because no,
Gotcha.
I don't allow it. I mean, that's just me personally as a parent. However, not knowing is something that causes a soul to live outside of itself. A lot of imposter syndrome stuff, a lot of some children begin to develop mental health issues because it's like I was telling Britt the other day, we were in conversation. It's like you're seated, you're looking out of a window into the world that you would like to participate in, right? So you're in there, but your soul self is not seated in there completely. Something else is taking over. Does that make sense? Now, with the same fact that it happens more often in children, as an adult, if you are not anchored into your soul self, it could happen to us as well.
Sure.
Right?
And the
With
reason I
some,
wanted to, sorry to cut you off, to highlight that piece right there is because, and it's, I know it might be a bit for some to digest, but when baby gets here, we're used to our moms and people already have the rules. If they crying, they need this. If they did it, they need that. And sometimes I'm like, what if it's not they're hungry? What if it's not they need to be changed? In that little space in those first 8 to 12 weeks, it makes sense to me that what if they are just anchoring in them little cells? They just got here. They don't know where they at, but they do know where they at. Maybe we don't know. And my spiritual beliefs are not void of God, but to me, it all goes together. It's like, that space of them really coming into themselves, even as babies. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't know what they're thinking, what they're feeling, but kind of watching and observing in that space. That makes what you said makes a lot of sense to me as far as giving the baby the space to come in here and really like feel around. So I'm glad you highlighted that. So I just wanted to throw that in there. And Miss Tab, I saw you came off.
Um,
You want to say something?
yes, I did. So biblically, it does tell us that if you are not mindful of what you are doing, there will be a possession of you.
Mm-hmm.
So, not allowing a lot of different people in your space. Britt and I have talked about this. Not allowing a lot of people in your space and only As you grow older, you'll realize that the less negativity you have around you, the better off you are.
Mm.
So I'm going to get back to that point, but swaddling a baby, as you mentioned, when a child comes out, it still kind of thinks that it's connected to its mother.
Mm.
So that's when swaddling comes in, because you're trying, which most people probably aren't understanding this. You're trying your best to not shock the baby into, I'm not in this protective womb anymore. I
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
literally outside of this body now, preparing to live a life. Like I've been
Right.
in here
My
swaddled my
own.
holes, just tucked in a little belly, and now
Mm-hmm.
the swaddling comes in because you want them to still feel very protected.
Mm-hmm. I like
Souls.
that.
That's where we get the saying old soul. Or most people say, this child has been here before. Because you
Mm-hmm.
recognize that there is no reason why this child should know this. There no physical if you put it together, there's no reason why this child should know these things.
Mm-hmm.
So um I think uh, as we talked about parents doing and everything and everything in front of their children and all of these kind of things, these are the things that are molding your child as they grow up. You can try to pull it back together, Lord knows you can try to pull it back together, but once they seen, you can't unsee, just like a lot of things. It takes a lot. You are still training your child, even though my children are grown and gone out of the house. It's a different type of train up a child right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different type. It
Mm-hmm.
went from that I need to try to show you what life is all about now to now you are out of this nest and you are living your life. I can try to instruct you on how to do that, going back to last week. But if you don't listen, these are your consequences now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree. Like home birthing or a mother that is aware of her choices. I think that that helps us to allow the soul that only we have a relationship with. You know, because the mother is the first person to have a relationship with little person. You know, and the mother knows things that the other people that are loving the child will get to learn if they're allowed to. Gentleness is key. Like a lot of yourself to support mother
Yeah.
and to be helpful and to be around and to, care for baby in the way that the mother asks. And just, I think that there needs to be a lot more discussion in this world about simple gentleness. Because gentleness changes a lot. Just taking your time with people and not assuming and projecting and get this done and outfits. So you're buying things that the child never sit in. And,
Yeah.
you got ideas of he gonna start baseball. People already be
Mm-hmm. Get
planning for.
ready. Exactly. And it's like, yo, let's chill out. Let's walk into this, ease into this. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm grateful that I think that COVID sort of gave us the gift of that. Should we choose to open it, because it was like, it made home priority again because you ain't had nowhere else to go. Relationship, family, what's going on with my children. Think being able to understand what your children need as their authentic soul requires silence. It requires a different type of listening. It requires a type of awareness that goes beyond what you know. So for that, in that way, I think home birth or designing your birth process is really important because you start from that place saying, I'm going to agree with this soul to give it what it is that it needs in order to make its way into this world.
You better wrap us up, Jesus. Yes. So with that said, I feel like it all comes back to, and I feel like we're in this age, this era of home. We're coming back home with how we do things. We're coming back home with how we're creating our own walk. We're coming back home with deciding what's going to work for us, what's going to work for our family, and not really too much taking it outside influence and sources. You know what I'm saying? And surrounding ourselves with people who get it. So that's all I have to say right there, Miss Tab. I don't know if you had something else you wanted to wrap it
I
up.
did. I did. I think it's very important that we come back to a space of home. Right now, we are watching in record numbers our children being killed. We're watching in record numbers suicide against young women and men. We're watching just children just hurt each other. And they're hurting each other because we lost a sense of home. There is no refuge. You know, like you could not wait to get home from school because you knew it was going to be a warm meal, and you knew people who were at that place loved you.
Mm-hmm.
And I often say, I'm so glad you and I had this conversation after Christy passed on. And I said, I think I want to do a podcast because there is enough foolishness out on the internet. There's not enough of people trying to get our children back together, get our homes back together. Stop all of this fighting and throwing drinks in front of each other's face. So that's all I want to say. I don't want to get on my preachy soapbox. So I'm stop right there.
All good. So thank you so much again, Free, for joining us today. Thank you for taking your time on a Sunday morning
And
to join
thank y'all for having me. I woke up this morning. I said, I
Yes.
got somewhere to be.
us.
And it made me rinse my face off. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Miss Tab, for having me. I appreciate you. You are such an
Thank
amazing
you.
soul, such a warm
Thank
energy. You
you.
taught me so much just in listening to you on this call. And Britt, I think that you're going to be an amazing mother. You already are an
Oh,
amazing
thank
godparent
you.
and
Thank
auntie and all those things. I can't wait to see what you do when you give birth to those
Mm-hmm.
little babies and you run around the house.
Call
I'm
y'all.
excited.
Come get them
Oh,
right here in
So,
front of the camera.
thank you, ladies, so much for having me this morning.
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank y'all for joining us. Bye.
That's okay. You did a great job. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.